What is up, YouTube? All right, so we are going to put this 6 liter together today. We have got to get a rush on this. Had to go a little backwards, unfortunately. We had an oil ring get damaged originally, so we basically took her back apart, and we're going to redo this again the correct way. So had a little assistance, unfortunately. Sometimes help's not always the best. But anyways, so biggest thing you want to remember is never assemble an engine dry. You've got to use good assembly lube. Now, granted, any lube is better than none. So, I mean, there's different brands. Everybody's going to have different ideas on what's best. What's best for each setup. But the biggest thing is, just definitely don't put your engine together dry. Another quick thing is when you're putting your bolts in, just put a little bit oil on there. The oil you're going to use to run in your engine initially, break-in oil, whatever you want to call it, synthetic, however you choose. So whatever your flavor is, just make sure you put a little bit on there. And when you go to torque this into place to get the degree or that specific pounds that you're trying to get, when these are dry, they kind of make a lot of noise and sometimes don't get exactly where you're supposed to be or the accuracy of what you need. So if you put that oil in there, it basically slides around there. You're not hurting anything. So, but like I said, just remember you want to assemble your engines, but you don't want to do it dry. So this is the dirty part of the job for a good reason, though. So just you want to basically, let's see if I can give you a good view here. Get you some on there. Don't clog up your holes or anything, but give yourself a nice layer on each one. How much is too much? Really isn't. You just don't want it gulping up all over the place or getting everywhere, clogging up any holes. So, just use common sense a little bit. Now, I'll do this on the bearings, and I'll even lightly coat the crank in these locations also, and that way I know I'm really, really good. And look at me, I just clogged that hole up. Gotta love it. I'll clear that out here in a second, because what I'll do is I'll take a little bit of oil. I have a little gun here, and I'll just squirt a little bit in these holes. Not much. Most of it will end up running through the block and back out on the ground if you don't have your engine catch pan down there during this process. But never hurts. What's a little dry sweep? Never kills anybody. So, but just don't leave your engine dry. So you want to make sure you get plenty of lube on all your parts, essentially. If you want to find time now to go ahead and go ahead and get your piston rods where they're going to land to, can't hurt. It's right here in your face. You can also just wait till you essentially get that in place and rotate it around. But I prefer to go ahead and lube as much as I can. Again, nothing hurts to go ahead and have that, and then you just double check everything once you get it in place. So, and quick pointer: always leave these guys standing up. Don't lay them down. Definitely don't store them laid down, because that'll damage them over time. And that nice crank you have will turn into a mailbox post or something at that point. So, and whatever you do, be very careful with dust and dirt. Make sure your floors are clean and everything around you is clean. All right, so got that all nice. Now, as you saw, I did forget to grease that, so no big deal. Picked it up for a second. Probably don't need to, but in my case, I always like to be better safe. Now, if you get the top hole, it's going to walk to the bottom hole, so essentially. All right.
Let's redo that.
All right. Everything looks nice and glued. And a little bit over here. Okay. All right, so as you set your caps in, you know, don't forget to get those too. Now, what I do is I'll keep one finger clean. I'll wipe just to make sure no dust got on there, any dirt, because that's the last thing you want is any debris or dust getting in there between those locations. So keep it clean. If you're worried or you're thinking that you might have got something, wipe it off real quick and do it again. But never be afraid to be too clean at this point. Piece of dirt or dust would definitely wipe out a bearing in a heartbeat and damage your crankshaft. We don't want that. Now, I already spec'd this cam. Excuse me, I already spec'd this crank. I did do a plastic gap on it and all that stuff, so if you need to know a brief, you know, overview of how to do that, just go ahead and check out the other video. All right. Like I said, a little bit of oil. Just dip it in there, nothing crazy. Just getting those threads a little bit lubed. Like I said, the messy part of the job. And as they go in, I always hand start every one of them. That way, you know, we get a good starting point here. I do the same thing with the head bolts. Now they do have a thread lube or assembly compound for this stuff, but it's not really you know, something you need on a basic engine build or a low horsepower engine build. You know, the higher performance guys tend to, you know, go the extra mile and stuff like that. And there's guys that are doing 1,000 horsepower don't even go this far, so their engine still looks like grease, like they just pulled it out of the junkyard. So everybody has their own direction. You just need to find what's best for you at this point. So now we got our outer ones here too. We want to definitely get these guys in place. Now the difference on your outer ones, they're exposed to the outside of the block. So essentially, let me see if I can show you this real quick, just in case you don't know. But you have 4 bolt mains, and then you have your 6 for here and here on the outside. So essentially, this guy here is exposed. Now, oil doesn't tend to do it, but sometimes it can leak past this cap and that head of that guy right there, and end up with a tiny oil leak. So in that case, what you can do is, you know, you can take one of these small bolts right here, basically, that goes on the outside, and just put a tiny bit of gasket right there, gasket maker. You know, your gray, basically, something good for eye heat and torque. But put it right there on that guy, right there, on that edge. And so when you tighten this down and it's against the block, it'll create a seal inside there, and that'll eliminate any possible problems. This guy right here works really good for this kind of stuff, so just an option, but here you go. Probably one of the best out there. I know a lot of small engine guys and even some bigger guys that use that. So what I'm going to do now is just use my baby him driver here and just get all these walked into the place, and then we'll start the torque sequence. Now remember, use something that doesn't put a lot of actual torque, because last thing you want to do is exceed your specifications. It's important that you actually do it in the proper direction, but no reason to stand here for 5 years walking each one of these into place. And just work your way inside to outside. All I'm doing is just walking until I see it seat and touch it. So that way I don't have to sit there and use a ratchet to do it. So sorry about the noise if that was loud. As you see, these loosened up because I wasn't really putting a whole lot of pressure on those. So, but they're close, so just run them down with your fingers if you need to. All right. Now your inside bolts on this LS motor specifically, this is a 6 liter. These inside bolts are the first round are 15, the outside bolts are 15, and then your very outsides are 18 foot-pounds. So now always double check your own specs to make sure that way everything's correct on your end. Sometimes they can be changed, sometimes people have their own opinion on what it should be. If you're doing different horsepower ranges, you know, things like that, you know, that could be a difference for sure. So always make sure that you check your engine manufacturer and such. Okay, so like I was saying, let's see if I can show you this real quick. Put just a little bit on that edge of the bolt, so that way when you go running it in there, as it turns, it'll create that. Now that's a 10 millimeter on these outside ones. Now this first round, everything gets 15 foot-pounds. After that, you turn on each one to a specific degrees. Now, as I said, the first one here is number 13. We got number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So, and then you jump to your outer ones from there. So, and you're going at 15 foot-pounds. Now you don't have to double tap it like that, but some people like to. All right, your next round is 15 millimeter. Now from time to time, you just want to give this a little spin and make sure it feels free as you're going. And some people would literally do it like right off each one. They'll spin it, one, spin it, one, spin it. So each person's different. And you know, to get where you want to be. But if you're going through that, I mean, that's essentially what you know, some people like to do. So I'm just going to double check where I was at. Okay. All right. So essentially, you walk through all those, do that, and then you know you want to double check. You don't want it to feel like it's binding anywhere. As you can see, it's spinning nice and free. There are no physical, you know, issues here that's creating. So, all right. So we'll start from the center. All right, first round done. All right. So next round is based on degrees. So a lot of guys, you know, like you and me, might not be able to afford or care to spend $800 or more on a torque wrench that does the angle in degrees for you. So what you do is this little guy, and essentially what it is it's got the degrees on it, and then you got this little shaft right here. So you just get it in position on 0 and turn the torque wrench around until you get to the degree mark that you want. So not rocket science, not hard. And this little clamp right here holds it in place, so that way it's not moving. And then of course it does move a little bit here, so the essential thing is you're not using a torque wrench at this point, you're using a bar, so it's easier. And then you just apply a little bit of pressure, which I want to bring this around a little bit so I got better leverage. And then you turn this, as stated, loosen that screw up around to 0, and you'll turn this to the specific degrees you want. Now, on my inner here, the final pass of sequence for the inner bolts is 80 degrees, and then my outer bolts is 53 degrees. Now on the outside here, they basically just have 18 degrees. So it wasn't 15 degrees earlier, it was 18 degrees. So I'll final those off once I get here, since I'm already set up this way, and do the extra 3 degrees on the outside, so we're actually proper there. That's why it's always important to watch what you're doing. So, all right, so here we go. 0, we want to go up to 80 degrees. Now put a little tension on it so that way this part's not wobbling around when I set my 0. And just grab the motor and pull around. Now some guys have this dialed into where they actually know what 80 degrees is, or at least they feel that way. And they'll just go ahead and do a torque per pound based on that alone. So, you know, each to their own. All right, so I'll walk through all that, and I'll go in my sequence inside and outside and get that all done, and I'll turn you back in a sec. All right, so I got the inside ones done already, and we're going to basically do the exact same thing for the outside. So, but the difference is we're degrees here. On the crankshaft bearing cap studs, outer studs, final pass sequence is 53 degrees. So we'll only be going 53 degrees on these and doing them in the proper sequence. And basically that's it for the caps. And then we'll get these bad boys back to the 18 that they were supposed to be at. And that'll be that for that. From that point, we're going to be installing your pistons and your rod bearings, and I'll show you how to do the piston ring gapping in the next round. So, and then we'll keep moving forward on this and get this bad boy built. So stay tuned, and hope you like what you see, and I appreciate you guys watching Chaos Garage. So like and subscribe if you want to see future videos, and toss in a few comments. Let me know how I can improve and give you guys better information.